Welcome to the Seven Figure Builder Show. My name is Julie Baranek, founder of Seven Figure Builder, where we help high achieving business owners save time in their schedule every week by implementing marketing automation to grow and scale their business to seven figures and beyond. And I'm here today with my friend Patty. Hey, Patty.
Hey, how are you?
I am wonderful. So glad to have you here today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, for people that have not had the pleasure to meet you yet, can you tell us a little bit what you do with your business?
Absolutely. So, again, my name is Patty Rogers. I run a marketing and sales agency. So, essentially, we work in a similar industry where we're helping clients with the entire customer journey. So, everything from bringing new leads in the door all the way through to making sure that we're asking for those, what I call the three R's, which are reviews, referrals, and repeat business. And we automate as much as humanly possible.
That is the magic words, right?
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
in your automation, how do you ensure that there's that high touch personalized experience? We don't want it to feel like a machine. And I know that's my personal focus and
Yeah.
something very important to me, but how do you help clients with that?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of ways, honestly, to do that. And you're probably familiar with this. It could be simple things like making sure that we're actually sending the right message to the right people. That's the most basic, right? That we're not just blasting everything to everyone because people are in a different space in their journey. And I think that's really important to keep as the main point of focus. I'm a visual person. So if we think of a buying cycle as a straight vertical line, right? This is the person, but their cycle crosses over at very different times. So we have to meet them where they are. That's really important. And in terms of the personal aspect, so that's one. I always integrate, hey, I'm going to give you a call tomorrow, or hey, I'm going to give you a call in a few days, which is really nice. And then actually do it. That's
Right.
really
That's
important.
key.
That's key to actually follow through with what you say you're going to do. And then there's a lot of other things like adding video and making sure that it's just it's personal. It's not difficult to do that. Like you're just sharing your story and showing up authentically. It works the same way in social media. And honestly, every avenue, every media channel or avenue, as long as you're showing up authentically, I think it comes across in a personal way and not like an automated robot.
Yeah. And the key I know I found too is relevance. You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned you want to connect with them where they are in that moment, but the more relevant you can be for the customer in that moment when you're talking to them, the more it
Mm-hmm.
actually connects with them and syncs with them. And it's, oh, this person gets me. But
Yes,
to be able to do that, you need good data.
100%.
Like you need
Mm-hmm.
things to hook into, you need things to say where that person is in their journey and to be able to pay attention to that.
Yep,
So how do you help
absolutely.
people with that, or what do you recommend with people? It's a big pain point I see with my clients, so I'm curious what from your end.
Yeah, in terms of hooking into the pain, I think that really comes down to knowing your audience, right? Having those, you do the work in the beginning, right? Everybody talks about your avatar, your ideal client, however you want to refer to it. At the end of the day, you have to know that person. And this is not a one time project. This is a continuous project. And it's simple things like for me, excuse me, one of the things that I do is when I'm on the phone with people, whether I'm doing a podcast, speaking in a Facebook group, on a client call, when they say those little things, there's little tiny things. They may say a word or a short little phrase, or they may go on for a full paragraph. But when I hear those things about what they're saying, their struggles, their fears, all of it, I write it down because really I think a lot of us and myself and a lot of my clients, we serve a former version of ourselves. So we're very in tune with what our problem was, but we have to speak so that our clients will say, oh my God, that's me. She gets me. He gets me. That's really important. So I think that's the hook, is making sure that they see themselves in the story, the email, the post, the live, whatever it is.
100%, yeah. And do you have like specific systems that you use? Do you have a suite of technology, or where do you gravitate towards?
In terms of marketing automation or just in general, I do. So I'm a certified partner with Keep, KEAP, which was formerly Infusionsoft. And I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, they rebranded under Keep. And literally the motto of the company is keep going, keep serving, keep growing. And the reason for that is because we are very in tune with our customers and the entrepreneurs and that journey, that keep going keep serving, keep growing. I'm making sure I'm not getting it out of order. It's on my mouse pad. Is really important because it's easy to give up. It's easy to get discouraged. Little side tangent there in terms of Keep, but I am a certified partner with Keep. And then a lot of our clients use, of course, Zapier, some of the other tools. Keep is my primary, and then we add things like Customer Hub for portals or membership areas. We work in a lot of different platforms, but we have our core. And then I was going to mention something else to you. Oh, Octopus, which is one that I use for LinkedIn. That is a new platform that I tapped into last year because I wanted to dive into LinkedIn a little bit deeper. I've been on the LinkedIn platform, but I knew there was more that I could do, and I didn't want to spend hours in LinkedIn searching for the right types of people to connect to. So Octopus is a great fill for that need in my business, where it essentially automates your friend request based on certain criteria that you put in there. And then you build out a funnel to bring people closer to you and get them to raise that hand because they know you, like you, trust you.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a new one. I haven't heard that. I'm writing that down as
It's
I'll have to
fantastic.
check it out later.
Let me know because I'll give you my affiliate code.
Yeah, totally.
It's
Yeah,
a good
we'll have
one.
links
It's
down
really good.
below. I'll definitely check it out. You mentioned
Yeah.
lead generation, and I know that's a pain point for so many people, but what do you recommend or how do you help people? Where should people start with that?
Lead gen. It's a deep topic because most people, and I'm sure you've heard this, talk about, I need more leads, I need more leads, I need more leads. That is a drum that is pounded over and over again. And while it is true that you do need leads in your business coming in the door, I find that most of the people that I work with, most entrepreneurs in the online space, everybody needs new leads, but a lot of people are not handling the leads that they currently have in their business. And that is a big problem. It's a bigger problem than I need more leads, which is what people say, or I need more people to book time on my calendar. And that may be true. But if we're getting leads in the door and we're not handling them properly, that creates a different issue. And if you're okay with it, Julie, can I tap into something else that I talk
Totally.
about a
Yeah,
lot and I
yeah.
see? Okay, cool. I love that. So over the years that I've been working with online business owners, there are certain things that everybody says in this space, specifically of marketing automation. They're overwhelmed, right, with technology or just in general. There's fear, there's failure, there's analysis paralysis, there is imposter syndrome, there is lack of clarity in their business. All of these things, you're nodding your head, so I know you've heard them. I put those all in one little pile and I trademarked the term entrepreneurial ADD,
Okay.
which is what that is. That's all those things. It's all those things wrapped up in one little bundle. And the problem, and there's something even specifically with female entrepreneurs, even more, all those things that I talked about, those are the things that stand in our way of success, every single one of them. And what happens, it's very much critter brain type of stuff, right? So we're diving a little bit, we're going down a different road. That's okay. And usually what happens, so getting back to the lead generation, a new lead comes in for a business owner will reach out. And it doesn't matter to me if it's email, text, a referral from someone, DM, doesn't matter. The business owner will reach out because they're so excited, right? They're like, oh my gosh, somebody's so excited. They want to hear from me about fill in the blank. And so they reach out and then they hear crickets.
Mhm.
You're busy. I'm busy. Every other entrepreneur on the planet is busy. And so what happens when they hear crickets, or same thing on a social media post, right? They're so excited because they're going to launch their new thing and then nothing happens. And that little critter brain, also entrepreneurial AD, kicks in and goes, oh, nobody wants your stuff. It's not worth it. It's just, you're not like the big online names out there. And it becomes such a problem because we're not handling those leads the way that we need to. And so if an entrepreneur gets 3 touches to that person, I think they're actually doing really well. If they get 3 and they don't have any sort of automation in place, manual. And I think they usually don't even get to 3, to be quite
Mhm.
frank, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Unless that person
Um,
responds right away and then it's a hot lead.
exactly. And they're back and forth. We're in whatever, text, DM. And I know that if there's an automated system in place that's working back here, driving that person closer to us with authentic storytelling, the right type of personal automation, then that's a very different situation. But a lot of entrepreneurs are stuck. They're stuck in that place of not taking care of the leads that they do have. So to me, yes, lead generation is important, but actually quality lead care is more important.
I could not agree more. And I know I've seen the same thing in my career, both from the small companies to the massive international
Yeah.
corporations, that a lot of times their KPI, their measurement for success is the number of leads that they have. And it's okay, great. But what are you doing with them? Because they're doing nothing, growing old and stagnant, and they're getting
Yeah.
less interested by the moment.
And what's even so interesting about that, now that you say that, I'm going to chime in on that because my husband, completely different industry, works in corporate America. His company has the same problem, right? If leads are not a hot lead, they just die. But it's not. And I think a lot of times we think about leads and we're like, oh, if they're not doing business with me, they're not valuable. And that is the farthest thing from the truth, because I have had people not ever do business with me, but they are an excellent referral partner. They're making introductions to other people because they understand what I do. And there is still value in that person, in that relationship. And that's the key. We have to make sure that it's not just like this lead does not equal dollars in an exchange of my business to them as the customer. There's so many different ways that we can be of service. We can collaborate on projects. I could go on, and you know that. So it's really important that we have this conversation about leads.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so easy when we get that first cricket, that
Yes.
silence, we take it
Yes.
as personal rejection, and it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
personal.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first of the 7 touches, at least 7 touches that you need to make with that person. I think
Mm-hmm.
we need to keep that in our mind, that check, that's touch number one. And then we
Yeah.
need to set up and have a system in place to have all those touches in place to bring that customer closer to you, to the point of they want to do business with you. But we
Mm-hmm.
can so easily get hung up at that first touch, saying, oh, it didn't work, I'm a failure, my thing's
Yes.
broken, I
Yes.
need to rework the whole system. And that's not the
Yes.
case at all.
Not at all. And I keep going back to this with women. I don't know if you work with women and men. I work primarily with women. And there is something that we have to almost like emotionally detach from those experiences, those crickets, right? And that might sound bad, but we do. At the end of the day, like we think of our baby, we think of our business as a little baby. And while that might be true, and our program or our services or whatever, but we have to detach a little bit because it's important to us, and we care, and we put so much love in everything. We put literally everything we have into our clients and our services, but we do have to detach a little bit and just be aware of that piece of that first touch and crickets.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I've heard that same concept put a couple different ways. And the first was, we need to figure out who we can help. We can't help
Mm-hmm.
everybody. So when
Yes.
somebody doesn't want our services, again, it's not personal. It's just, okay, I can't help you. And that's fine. Maybe I can help you in the
Mm-hmm.
future. And if not, no worries. We talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
And then similarly, I was going through a thing with Grant Cardone, and he says, who has my money? Which sounds a little crass maybe, but
Yes.
it's that depersonalization. It's not personal. It's just, who can I help? Who is that
Mm-hmm.
customer that I really want to help support? So I
Yeah.
found that helpful, both perspectives, to just
Yeah.
take the
And
emotion out of it.
yeah. And I think it's also really important to shed some light on the fact that it's okay for the business owners to have those conversations and be very open and frank about it. And I almost every call I get on, one of the things I talk about is that it needs to be a fit for both parties. And I will say, I think it's a fit for me. What do you think? Because I want to give people that respect and that space to say, you know what, just like you said, I'm not ready now, or it's not for me. And that's okay, because I want to work with people. Like, I've been doing this long enough. I want to work with people, one, that I know I can help and serve, and two, that are fun. And we're both in it. We both want to be there, because otherwise it's just terrible. It's not
Yeah.
fun at all.
Yes. Yeah. I always liken it to dating, for better or worse, in my mind, of I want someone who sees the value in me, not someone that I have to strong arm and drag to want to work with me. It's no, we work together. This is a partnership. And then we each bring value to the table, and we can move things forward that much further.
100%. Yeah, I love that. I
Awesome.
love it.
So you mentioned your husband. What do
Mhm.
you recommend with balancing family, business life? What have you found through the years?
Great question. Great question. Grace, first of all, a lot of grace. I will say I am a recovering perfectionist. And I say recovering because it is an ongoing
Totally.
process. And like I wanted the house clean. I've always worked out of the home, even though I didn't have to. I can go rent a space, but I always had an office in our home. And so I didn't want to let anything fall off. I like to socialize, I like to host parties. My husband is in sales, so he is, as much as I would like to say he's home at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, that's never the case. If a phone call comes in, then he's going to stay. And it's always been that way. And there was a lot of push and pull, honestly, in our relationship because it's hard to have a salesperson who has zero consistency in their work and an entrepreneur and who is the person in the home, myself, who I thrive on consistency and having that piece. So it was really hard. It was a push pull. And I will tell you, like, I've done certain things, like, I have automated text reminders to my family. Hey, get ready for Taekwondo. It's time to leave for volleyball.
I
Go
love
pick
that.
up, go pick up our daughter at
Uh,
this time. I have absolutely done that. And what's funny is when I was talking with my business coach, I think this was last January. Yes. And she was talking like, okay, what do you need to do in your business? What do you need to do to make sure that you can be successful? What boundaries do you need in place? Like we always do a lot of that. I plan out my vacation and my time off for the entire year before January. And so that was the question that she posed to us. And I was like, oh, I'm just having these struggles. Like I'm having to remind my husband, like just what you said, the work-life balance, all of
mhm.
it. And then I was like, bing, oh my gosh, I can totally automate this. Like I can automate my life like I automate businesses. And so that was really important for me. I touched on boundaries. I think having those boundaries in place are incredibly important, like a non-negotiable important. I don't work on Fridays. I don't take any client calls. My calendar is actually completely free on Fridays. Now, if I choose to work on something, that's fine, but I'm never on a client call on a Friday. I have CEO time every single Monday. And it's tough to live by your calendar. And I say that because I see it. Like I will book calls with people on their calendar and then people don't show up. And I'm like, how is that possible? How is that possible? And it's because they're in that state of chaos, right? Everybody's been there, like I've been there, where you're trying to do all the things and run the business and you have zero systems and zero support. And that's okay. Like it's okay to run a one-man shop, but there are certain things that you have to have in place if it's a business and not a hobby. So I think the calendar is really important. And that's hard for some people to wrap their head around how important that calendar is and those boundaries. But I believe there's little things. There are certain days that I take client calls, and there are certain days that I take, like a 30-minute kind of strategy call. So I think there's a lot of little things like that in terms of the balancing. Did that answer your question, or are you looking
Oh, no, it
for?
does totally. And
Okay.
yeah, I just like to hear how people juggle things because I know it's a constant balancing act for myself. And I love the concept of automating your personal life as well. Obviously, you've got to be present, but
Yeah.
I know for myself, my memory sucks. I'll just be totally
Yeah.
transparent. I have to I have to write it down. My husband's fully aware of this. I write everything down. And if I don't write
Mm-hmm.
it down, it doesn't happen. So my
Yeah.
calendar is hugely important for me, reminders, notifications ahead of time, just to help me as I've got so many things that I'm juggling, just like you and just like everybody else. I have to write it down. But the automated reminders, I think, are extremely helpful for ourselves just to bring our own sanity, but also for our clients. Like when we have those scheduled calls with clients,
Yes.
for anyone that doesn't have them baked into their system with automation, oh my goodness, it'll increase your show rate like 1,000% if you're automating
Yes.
reminders to your clients because they're going a million miles an hour. And we have to
Yeah.
assume that they're going to forget. So it makes everybody's life easier if you can put both, I would suggest email and text for
Mm-hmm.
those type of appointments so that you can remind them 15 minutes before, an hour before. People forget, and give them the meeting invite. Just make it easy to do business with you, and you'll find
100%.
that people will show up and they'll actually
Yeah.
want to be there.
Yeah. One of my first mentors, you just said, make it easy for people to do business with you. And one of my first mentors, he said, make it easy. He said, I think this was like 12 years ago. But so he was probably, I was an independent contractor. I'm sure he was paying me like on PayPal or something. So I didn't
Mhm.
have any automated systems in yet because I was doing a different thing. And he said, make it easy for me to pay you. And I was like, it's such a tiny little thing, but it was like, put my PayPal email address in the email
Right.
with the invoice or the dollar amount. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, yes. Make it easy for people. We have to make it easy for people. So I love that. And yes, I got your reminders today, a couple of them, which was great. I knew exactly where to go to find the link and not a problem.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm amazed at, and I've been guilty of this myself through the years, but how many businesses, it's so hard to actually do business with them. They don't focus on this, like the customer experience, and they're successful in spite of themselves. But how much more successful could you be if you actually just make it easier for your customers to work with you?
Yep. 100%. Amen.
Yeah, so there's
Amen.
my word of advice for the day.
Yes.
So switching a little bit, but artificial
Yeah.
intelligence, we're
Mm.
seeing it everywhere, and the big freak out about chat GPT and all sorts of fun stuff that have come out recently. But what do you see in the automation world from your perspective?
In terms of AI,
Yeah,
I think that it can be, I'm going to throw in like a baking reference. And I feel the same way about texting. So we'll do it as a twofer. And someone gave me this analogy, it was not mine. But if we think about texting and AI as a recipe and we're baking, you want to use those things as salt, not sugar. So sugar is the core, right?
Mhm.
You have whatever, 2 cups of sugar. You want to use it as salt. So a little dash, right? You don't want to text everybody for every little thing you're doing. You
Totally.
want to use it as just a little added flavor, spice, a meeting reminder, like you said, maybe a sale that you have going on. Once people have already registered for an event, then you send them the text reminder, but you don't use it as like your normal email broadcast or your full sequence. Same thing with AI. I think it's okay to use it and integrate it into what you're doing, but it shouldn't completely take over because it's impossible. We're not ever going to be able to replace everything that a human does. I don't think. That's just my personal opinion, but I think we need that. I think we need to be able to look people in the eyes and record a video and say things from the heart. And that has to come from us. It has to come from our experiences, our journey, what brought us to where we are today.
I love that analogy. Yeah,
Thank
as much
you.
as I love automation and tech, I honestly have a love-hate relationship with it. So same with
We
text
all do.
messages, right? If you want to text me about a meeting reminder, totally, I appreciate that very much. But if you start texting me sales stuff, I get very irritated very quickly and you get
Yep.
blocked right away. So
Yep.
there's definitely a balance of how to communicate to people in the method that they prefer, just using common sense also to not just blast people, and just you've got to be respectful of people's boundaries.
Absolutely. And I think most of the text services now, I say most because I know for sure there's one where someone in the online industry asked for my phone number on something. I opted in, I gave my phone number, but I did not opt in to messaging. And there was no, like the first couple messages that came in, I don't know at what point that changed, but for sure there was no like actual opt in and there
Mhm.
was no way for me to opt out,
Mm.
which I think is wrong. And that's part of Keep off started offering, we actually call it text marketing. And the very first text that comes is an opt-in. Like I can send a message to you, but you're not going to see it until you actually opt in. And it's let's do it above bar. We're all professionals. Let's make sure that we have the things in place like you talked about, kind of those foundations. Make sure that you have the meeting reminders and all of the stuff in place and just make sure that you're doing things ethically,
Yeah,
giving people a way to opt out. Nobody wants to just be bombarded, like you said, with text messaging or even emails, anything.
yeah, 100%. No, and I am very respectful of the opt out. I mean, I want people to get my emails that want to get my emails. Like it
Oh,
will
yes.
A, build a relationship, B, not piss people off, C,
Yep.
increase your engagement rate because you are taking the people off of your list that don't want to talk to you. So that's another way that actually I love to use automation is I run it behind the scenes in my email list to do data cleanup, to then say
Yep.
for anybody that has not open an email for the past 6 months. Let's try a
Yep.
re-engagement email. If not, kick them off the list and say, great talking to you.
Absolutely.
If you want to talk to me again, here's how you resubscribe. But
Yeah.
so many
It's not a
businesses don't
bad
look at
thing.
that.
Yeah. They just see the numbers. They want the numbers, and health is more important than we can equate that to anything, right? Like we talk about that in terms of weight, like the number on the scale is not the most important thing. If you have a lot of muscle, that's important, right? It's different. We want a healthy email list, just like we want a healthy body. And just sending, and it goes so much deeper than that, which I know, but it hurts your reputation as a sender,
Right.
actually. So
Yep.
it hurts your reputation as a business owner if you're sending to unengaged emails and you're never cleaning your list, you're never doing anything, or the system isn't doing it for you. And then the other part of that is whoever you have aligned with, whether it's Keep, I don't care what platform, there's a gazillion, we could go
Mhm.
on and on, but whatever platform you're using to send those emails, it also hurts their reputation.
Mhm.
So it's really, really important that those are the two things I would say. If people take anything away, it's the meeting reminders that we talked about and making sure that you are actually sending to an engaged list and you're doing your due diligence as a business owner, or have a system that will do it for you and remove those unengaged contacts.
Yep. And even one step deeper is running periodically your list. And I know this is getting techie, but running your
We're two techie ladies.
right through mail tester programs. Like there, you can do an
Mm-hmm.
export of your list for those that are listening and run it through mail tester programs. And I'll put a link below for you because it is free to get started. I can send you a link and then you can check it out, but it'll kick off the spam emails that people put in there, or the out of office, or the people that have moved jobs. So now their email is no longer good and you're getting
Yep.
bounce backs. And to your point, you're killing your IP reputation. You don't
Yep.
want that in your system. So it's really critical that you run your email list through these cleanup processes to make sure that they're actually good, valid emails. Otherwise, you're going to screw yourself up when you're marketing.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So as far as leadership, you've been in business for a very long time, but what would you
Mm.
say makes a good leader?
Oh man.
Getting the tough questions now.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. There's a lot of things, obviously. I think showing up for yourself is really important as a leader, because if you can't show up for yourself, how are you possibly going to lead anybody else? I think something else that's really important is saying yes, even when you're scared. That maybe that should have been at the top of the list. And I'll give you a perfect example. I moved across the country, basically from California to Tennessee about a year and a half ago. And during that time of listing our house, and I have 3 children, listing our house, buying a new house in another state, all of the things, two or three, I think it was 3 opportunities were put in front of me. And I was scared and I did not have the time, like at all. And I said yes to every single one of them. And one, let's see if I can move my camera here without, I can't move my camera, but that is a book poster. So I can't move my camera because I think it might fall if I do.
That's okay.
But I was part of a book anthology with
Awesome.
20 other female entrepreneurs as I was moving across the country. So I'm having to write a chapter, pack my house, move kids, register schools, all the things. I was invited into two programs actually that were associated with Keep, but they chose certain people to do more. And like at a time where I really didn't have more to give, but this is the thing, like our brain automatically goes to, I don't have more to give, but you actually do. And it happens every single time things work out. And it doesn't matter. I mentioned I like hosting parties. I do. I love hosting parties. And as chaotic as things seem shortly before the party, it always works out. So I would say yes, even when you're scared, like step into that fear, say yes, even when you think you don't have more to give, because you do. And it's scary, but it's good.
Yeah.
And thank you for the comment about the book. It was
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, absolutely. That's incredibly exciting. And it's definitely nice to have both on your wall and in your repertoire there.
It is.
But
It was a good experience. It was really good. I would highly recommend it for anybody who's thinking about it. Get with some other female entrepreneurs and go for it. Just do it. Say
yeah,
yes.
I agree. It's we get opportunities and it's easy to just put it on the back burner and say, I'll take it next time or maybe later, or just procrastinate because it's outside of your comfort zone. And I know I've done the same thing. Like I remember years ago, I was invited to speak at this big international conference and I'm like, oh, maybe another time. And there may not be another time. You got to jump on and take advantage of the situations when they present themselves and then just do it. And to the flip side, I would say you also have to say no. You got with the boundaries and everything else, you got to know there's the balance there, but don't say no just because it's out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. And I feel like this is a no-brainer, but in terms of, I think in terms of leadership, a constant thirst for knowledge, right? There's a full bookshelf right there. I'm constantly listening to audiobooks. There's so much good content out there that we can all learn from. So I'm not a reader in bed because I will fall asleep, but I will listen to an audiobook when I go for a walk or go to the gym. Yeah. So definitely keep your eyes and ears open and just be learning.
For always. Sure. Yeah, I'm constantly absorbing. I know driving is my peak time when I'm listening to audiobooks, and I'll just play them one after another and just keep absorbing from people that are smarter than me. And
yes,
soak up their knowledge.
Yes. My husband and I, we say that to our kids all the time. Like, if you're the smartest person in the room, it's time to find a new room.
Totally.
And they're hearing this at 10 or 8. Yeah. And my hope is that it will serve them well for the rest of their life. Because I think it's something that we don't talk, in terms of kids, we don't talk about it enough with them. Like, it's very peer focused, that relationship. And sometimes their peers need a little upgrade.
Yeah.
Just like us as business owners.
Absolutely. And it's neat for them to see more insight into what we do. For you working at home, I'm sure your kids at least get a glimpse. A lot of times, at least my kids, I know they tune me out sometimes because they hear the same message over and over again. But it's really neat for them to really get that inside look at what we do and see it more than just white noise.
They're seeing it. It's all absorbing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So through the years of your business, how would you define success?
Through the years of my business? Like, what was it like in the beginning?
What would you define, looking over your entire career and what you've done? What would you define as success for you?
So to me, I think the short answer is I think it's all the things. And it's not an answer, and I'll expand on that a little bit. We can be very hard on ourselves as entrepreneurs. If we don't meet the financial goal, if we're not a 7-figure business owner, heck, if we're not at a 6-figure business yet, we can be very hard on ourselves. And one of the things that I do at the end of every year, that was, my coach mentioned it to me years ago, and I've done it, and I now pass it forward to anybody who asks a question like this, is at the end of the year, I write down all the successes, the tiny little things and the huge things. And it's really hard because we can, again, only see the things that we didn't accomplish. So it's very difficult to retrain your brain to go, you know what, showing up on social media consistently is a success. Emailing my list every day or every week is a success. Making sure that I plugged the holes in my business is a success. And you can take it down so granular to all the little tiny things that you did. So I think recognizing the achievements really at the end of the day is the most important piece to me, because it doesn't matter. Like, success in terms of financial, that's up to you. That's very personal. But I think as long as we're striving to reach goals and striving to do things and then acknowledging the things that we've done, that's successful to me.
I love that. Yeah. And oftentimes the financial goals, they keep moving. It's a moving target. Yeah. Once you hit the one, you set another and set another. Yeah. But the personal family life balance and the personal fulfillment is something that you always want to achieve.
100%. Yep.
Awesome. What can people expect from you next?
Exciting. What can people expect from me next? Let me give this a little thought. I haven't quite decided if I'm going to do any sort of event type thing, but it's on my mind. It's swirling around there. And in terms of my business, my plan is really to just continue to serve at a high level, as many as I can. My focus this year is, how can I shorten the time frame of things? Work fewer hours, spend more time with the family, make more money, all of it. And I'm talking in every area of my life, business, home, all of it. Like one of the things that I implemented since we talked about work-life balance is I've done this before. I've ordered like the home meals, the home kit
Mhm.
meals,
Yeah,
but my kids are at an age where they now cook those meals. So I have 3 kids, so 3 days a week, they're making dinner. So
love it.
everything that I can do to tighten up the business is really my focus in every area, expanding the team, making sure that because automation, it's not just a one and done. You know that. There's
Yeah,
always something else that you can do to tighten things up. So that's just it. Continuing to support entrepreneurs. And my husband and I are dipping into some other business ventures, which is very exciting to be able to do that. So that's what's coming up. That's 2023.
that's fabulous. I love it. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
working smarter, not harder, right?
Yes.
Awesome. And so how can listeners support you in your work? Where can they find you online?
So I am on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And you can search Patty M. Rogers. I want to say on LinkedIn there might be a one in there or Facebook, but if you just search Patty M, as in Mary, Patty M. Rogers, you'll find me. And I love connecting with fellow entrepreneurs. It is one of my favorite things to do. So don't be shy, reach out. You're either going to hear from me or my admin, and let me know how we can support you too. Whether that's a like or a follow back or a phone call. That is one of my favorite things, honestly, is connecting with fellow entrepreneurs. I love it.
Absolutely. And we'll have all your links below so people can find you online. And you can
Okay.
find me at sevenfigurebuilder.com. And thank you, Patty, so much for being on today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.